Good morning, good afternoon, and good day to everyone. Thank you for joining my webinar today called The Power of Storytelling. There is much to be said and cover on this topic, from using storytelling for self-improvement to using it for enhanced business impact. I will be covering a little of both today. I'll run through the prepared presentation and I'll open up the line for questions at the end, but hopefully you can see I've been using the chat box, so please feel free to send a chat or use the chat box at any time. As your presenter today, and based on the storytelling topic, I'd like to share a little bit about me. My name is Juanita, and I am the co-founder of Smarter Biography, and I run our product and marketing operations for the company. You can read a little bit more about me here, and this is what I would call my A side. That is the persona that I and we put on every day. But the B side is the deeper side, and the side that allows us to connect better with one another. My quick B side is that I'm from Phoenix and moved to the East Coast 10 years ago to start my career. I spent much of my post-collegiate career at Xerox before trying out the startup life with Smarter Biography. I have a pretty big family. I am one of 6 children, all of whom are in Phoenix, and I like to bring my niece to visit me, one of my nieces to visit me every summer. She's 10 years old and she'll be here in just a couple of weeks' time, so wish me luck. Today, I'll talk about the power of storytelling, why and how you should tell your story, and how we're helping organizations better connect with their customers and employees through authentic storytelling. What I wanted to start off with is the fact that people have been communicating and telling stories since the beginning of time. This is nothing new, although storytelling and the power of it is certainly trending. I'm sure you've seen tons of articles in the news today talking about how effective storytelling can be, how to use storytelling in your business. So this is something that is trending a little bit more. But we've been telling stories and communicating through stories for thousands of years. What has changed over time is the who and the how, or put differently, it's the communicator and the medium that has changed. If we go back in time and take a look at communication, we can see that it has changed in terms of being very top-down messaging. Back in the days, it was usually the elders or the wise who were the ones that were telling stories and communicating a message. As mass communication was introduced, this did change a little, but it was still a central authority pushing out a message. It really wasn't until the information era or the internet era that the top-down communication changed to more of a bottoms-up style of communication. And we would be familiar with this through the likes of blogs and social media, where everyone has a voice. So everyone has a story to tell, something to communicate, a lesson or idea to share, but where do we go to tell these stories? Sure, there is Facebook and Instagram, but these platforms are more image-based and built upon promoting a persona. So where do people go to tell their stories and to share their experiences? Also, our stories cross the personal space and they go into the business or commercial area. And this is where businesses and organizations can build meaningful relationships. Work does make up a third of our lives, and it impacts all areas of society. So this is what Smarter Biography is trying to provide. It's trying to provide an AI-led digital storytelling platform, or put differently, a place and a trusted space for people and organizations to better connect. I'll cover more about Smarter Biography in a little bit. Now I just want to kind of talk about the power of storytelling. So why is everyone talking about storytelling? Put very simply, human beings are emotional. So if we think about it, humans are emotional. So stories allow us to connect on an emotional level. Stories and storytelling allow us to relate and identify with others. Stories can inspire us into action or inaction, and then stories can allow us to make sense of events. So let's think about that for a moment. Taking a look at what's on the screen, what's your why? That question really is meant for what drives you each and every day, but you can also look at it differently in terms of why you do the things you do or whom you do those things for. This question in itself, what's your why, probably drums up many thoughts and feelings that you might want to say and express. The best part of storytelling, or rather telling your story, is that you have a voice to do so. There are a few things that I think you should consider, and so moving to the right side of the slide here, you should write what you know, and what do you know better than yourself? Secondly, you are unique and you have a unique perspective. There is a saying that no two people read the same book, while in the same vein, no two people experience the world the same. You are the narrator of your own life. You are the authority on you. You don't need anyone else to tell your story, and you have everything you need to do so. Lastly, you are a storyteller. We are all storytellers, and we tell stories in our everyday life when we're talking to friends and families, when we're driving to work, when we're coming out of work. But those are kind of little recaps, and so we're just building upon the broader storytelling effort and helping to make sense of our experiences. Now, I know many of you might be questioning, I don't want to write my story. Should I share my story? Many people don't know how to get started. They may think their lives or their perspectives are not worthy. People may worry that it may take too much time to write or share, and others may think that no one wants to read about them and their perspectives. Here are some retorts just to get you moving. When it comes to getting started, just start off by writing with what's on your mind. If you think you have nothing worthy to say, please keep in mind no one believes that but you. In terms of taking too much time, you can simply write and share by starting in bite-sized chunks or a chapter at a time. And people do want to read what you have to say. Your loved ones do, and certainly the people that are buying and experiencing the same experiences as you, they want to hear what you think of things as well. The best part of all the hype around storytelling, in my opinion, is the wildness factor. There are various research reports that point out the benefits, and there are also psychology practices that use storytelling as a way of reframing a person's perspective and interpretation of their lives. I've just listed a few resources here, but it turns out that the way that we talk about our lives has a profound impact on our own personalities, on who we are, and we have the power to control and change that. So I highly recommend that you take a look at these different resources listed here. They are linked, and it'll give you an interesting perspective on different areas that use a storytelling framework. So next, I'd like to talk about how to tell a story. You may be wondering, how do I tell a story? How do I tell my story? As you may have guessed, there is no right or wrong way to do this. You can tell a story in many different ways. You can begin with a memory or a feeling and explore that. You can take a date-based or chronological approach and move that way. What's most important is that you follow the feeling, follow the emotion to really get the essence out of what you want to say. In my research on the topic of storytelling, I found that there are several storytelling frameworks that writers use, movie producers use, and therapists use. And so I wanted to just highlight a few. In particular, the hero's journey, which dates back to the late 1800s, is an interesting way to look at our own lives and the adventures that we go through. Narrative therapy is also a very interesting framework, which psychologists use for reshaping how we see the events in our life. And lastly, in my research, I came across a free storytelling course. It's actually put on by Pixar and Khan Academy. While the course is aimed at storytellers that want to write great movie scripts, there was a very profound statement made by one of the writers at Pixar that I thought you'd enjoy. He pointed out that a successful story is one that can achieve getting the audience out of their head. So this is getting them out of their head, and what happens is they're intellectualizing what's being said to them. And so a successful story is one that can get the audience to feeling what is being said to them so that they can get in touch with their own emotions and get invested in what's happening to the character. So if we think about that, taking this one statement, we can use that in many areas of our life, whether it's personally or professionally, to really get people to understand our objective and to kind of be emotionally invested in it. So in the second part of the presentation, I did want to share what Smarter Biography is doing or how we are helping organizations create deeper connections using storytelling. Smarter Biography did start off as a consumer-focused company, so we started off with encouraging everyone to tell and write their life stories. That part still exists, and we do have a free application that you can download or register from on our website, smarterbiography.com. But we've also evolved to position our product to companies that have a need to better connect with their customers and their employees through authentic storytelling. Before I share this, I wanted to share an interesting slide with you. Let's take a look at what companies and brands are doing today. Many companies out there use very emotional advertisements and messages to try and show they understand us as consumers and to try and show that they want to help us. We call these brand promises. There's so much competition in all industries and all markets, so brands and companies are looking for a way to stand out. And so what ends up happening is they put up these very lofty and emotional advertisements, but what consumers will start asking and are asking is, how are you actually helping me beyond what you're putting in your advertisements? And this is where we propose to companies and brands that they should actually consider delivering on their promises by offering an actual place for their customers and their consumers to write and reflect on significant events, to help consumers with that writing and content creation process by using tailored chatbots, to help consumers with the writing experience by allowing them to write on the go and to provide options for sharing with friends and family. And lastly, to offer a platform where there's bi-directional feedback and sharing between the company and consumers. Of course, in covering this list, I am talking about Smarter Biography. So Smarter Biography, we like to call an AI-led digital storytelling platform. So we are helping organizations create deeper engagements with customers and employees by empowering their key stakeholders to share their experiences. So what you see here is a wireframe of the key components of our application. Just to kind of go through each one, there is a community aspect or a component that companies can use to build a community or to send existing communities to. The chatbots are meant to make consumers' lives easier in terms of writing content. The output is an authentic story or rich content from which both the consumer can use publicly or privately and also companies can use. And then lastly, there is that option to decide where you want to share your content and to whom. So what we're doing is helping companies create these experiences by tailoring our platform to align with their own brand. In terms of the AI component, we have this today and it's built into the application, and today it works in the way of providing just an easy way to have a conversation that is a Q&A based approach. What you would do is select a chapter or category that is relevant, and again, these would be customized or tailored to organizations and their business. You would have a Q&A type conversation that is, again, based on things that we've preloaded and uploaded into the platform. And then you can automatically create beautiful stories with tags for easy searchability. And over time, the AI will get smarter to be able to provide content suggestions to the users of the application. What I'll show you here is a quick web view as well as a mobile app view of Smarter Biography. When you log into the web view of Smarter Biography, you'll see an interface very similar to what you're seeing on the screen here. There are different story status areas, so you'll see draft, public, and private area. And then there are a couple of writing options that you can start with. So you can write using the chatbots or you can write in your own words. I'll just show you the view of the chatbot so you can get an idea of what this actually looks like. So this view here is you would have selected a category, and this could be a business topic such as a specific product you want to share your experience with, or perhaps the best-selling wine you may have purchased and you'd like to comment on that. So you would have picked a category here, and then it's a simple back and forth conversation with the chatbot. And at the end of this, you could move it to an actual end story. And so the components of a story, what those look like is you have an image, you have text, and then you have some collaboration components here, which are circled in red. So you can tag this appropriately so it can easily be found by others in particular communities or areas of interest. You can have a like or appreciate component, and then you can have or disable commentary on any of your story posts. Moving on into the mobile application, the idea here is that you can write on the go, and the web and the mobile app are synced. So if you did start to write while you're on the go and you saved a particular chapter or story, then you can go back onto your PC or your desktop and finish and continue that. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to write in front of your computer than it is to write on your mobile device. So that's the idea here. What you see here is that this is an introduction to the application. This is actually on our free app, what you would see. And again, we would tailor this for organizations and businesses to align to their branding. Key components, again, of the mobile application, similar to what I covered before, but what you actually see here is what actually exists in our mobile app. And so there's a community component where you can read publicly posted stories by people. You can just save quick thoughts and notes that would be stored as a chapter to review later. You can search for content that is interesting to you. The second item here shows the components of a story, the text, the tags, and the post. This is the mobile view of that. And then going to the posting options, this is what we think is a little powerful, because when we talk about companies and brands transcending their branding and messaging, we mean giving people the option to, start writing about your experiences with the brand, and you may post those things publicly. But sometimes the products that we're buying may have a life-changing impact for us, and we may want to write about things privately, and those stories we may want to share with our friends and family, and so that option exists here. You can decide story by story to share something publicly or privately with friends, and you can always update that status at a later time. The other thing that we are suggesting to companies and working with companies on is using chatbots not only from a content creation perspective, but also from an educational perspective. So we can preload our application to provide a sort of learning series based off of whatever the company's focused on, and users of the application could simply pick a learning track and go through and have a conversation with the chatbot to learn what they need to about a particular product. Overall, what we are trying to do is simplify the writing approach, simplify the storytelling approach. So while you're having a Q&A-based conversation with the chatbot, which you can see here on the left, what's happening in the background is this is getting turned into a beautiful story with the image and text and all of the collaboration components that I shared with you. And the best part is you can just get started very easily with writing and chatting with the chatbot and sharing. And again, things that are posted publicly for companies in particular, they can take that content, they can learn from the content, and it really helps to establish a baseline for being able to connect more deeply with customers or perhaps internal employees, and to build upon that and to learn from the intelligence and to use the content here. So stories have been used to inform and educate us since the beginning of time, and we believe they should be used to connect and inform the future. Obviously, for anyone here on the line that may have a need, and if anything resonated, we would love to work with you to explore how you can use our platform and how we can tailor it for you. Now, I will just take a moment to open it up to any questions, and thank you all for joining.